There's a plane droning over me, actually. Can you hear that or not?
There's somebody droning in my headphones.
Droning.
The Tyre Kickers, classic car chat with Max and Matt.
Hello there and welcome to the latest pearls of wisdom from two blokes who know absolutely nothing. It's the Tyre Kickers, and thankfully, so far, talking about classic cars is still tax-free.
In this episode, Matt and I have just one thing in common. We don't like Fords, but are we missing out on the Blue Oval's finest?
The Tyre Kickers.
Also, Imp. Huh.
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing. Well, that's according to you.
Say it again.
So we'll go to war over whether the poor Hillman Imp should be crushed or caressed.
Plus, classic cars are all about the looks, but what about the interiors? Is it time to give the wooden dashboard some love?
So buff up your walnut and get that cockpit shining. It's episode 45 of the Tyre Kickers.
Finalist at the Independent Podcast Awards, this is the Tyre Kickers.
Now, it's not often that I agree with you. Well, never, to be honest, because you're always wrong.
Sorry, just rewind and say that again.
I'm going to slightly agree with you on this one briefly. You and I do share one thing, and that is that Fords leave us a bit cold. They're a bit meh, a bit vanilla. I'd always, for example, take a Golf GTI over an XR3i, a Rover SD1 over a Granada, and catch a bus rather than drive a Sierra. Now, lots of people love them, but I'm from a BL household, and Fords have never really lit my fire. And to be honest, I'm not sure why.
Well, I think there is something about what you grew up with, because I grew up riding in the back of those kooky Citroens like GSAs and BXs with those up and down suspensions. I can't get that excited about the Cortinas and Capris that, my mate's dad's had. I did own a Fiesta once in the 90s. It was fine. It was one of the new ones, and it was fine for a daily. But honestly, I can't say I've ever thought about it, a day after I sold it. So there was no kind of emotional connection with it.
Yeah, but people are now buying old fast Fords for more money than they spend on a house. Now, remember, there was that Mark II white two-door Escort 1800 RS at Historics in July that went for £278,000. Those 1990s Escort RS Cosworths are going for well over £100,000. And at the NEC Classic Motor Show, there was a Rally Mark I Ford Focus that went for $393,000. Now, okay, it had been used by Colin McRae, but that's really rare Ferrari money for a Ford.
To be fair, the auctioneers will say those particular ones you mentioned there are kind of one-off type things. I mean, I think the Escort that people were fighting over, there was two guys from the Middle East and they both wanted it, and it was kind of a battle to get it. But it is fair to say that the Fords are going for big money now, aren't they? I mean, maybe we're just being a bit mean about them, or maybe a bit stupid, actually. I mean, lots of people love Fords, so maybe we should take another look at them. Well, let's pull some up that are advertised, on the internet at the moment and see what we're doing wrong. I mean, let's have a look at this one. I'll stick this on your screen now. It's a Mark II Ford Escort RS 2000. Now, that's one of the catnip ones. That's the one people want.
I mean, that's actually nice. I do like those Escorts. It's a Mark II, so it's a good-looking car. It's the two-door, and it's got the droop snoot style RS 2000 nose. So, I mean, I don't mind RS 2000s, but they're going for big money, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, this has got a bit of interesting, because it is a coupe, because it's not just a run-of-the-mill family shopper. It has got a bit more to it, and it'd probably have a bit of poke in it, and it'd be a bit fun to drive, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the 2-litre engines on these Mark IIs were good, and also they were so light. They're really light at the back. You could spin these around in circles for hours and hours and hours. I mean, the RS 2000's, nice car. I mean, yeah, it's an okay drive. It's quite a nice drive. I still don't get why it's quite so expensive. I mean, this one here, it's from South Africa, so it's slightly an odd one. It's not quite the UK spec. It's got the wrong wing mirrors, but it's £35,000 for a 1980 right-hand drive Ford Escort Mark II RS 2000. Now, that is a lot of money. 35 grand can buy you a lot. Escort RS 2000, I mean, it's nice, but is it that nice? I mean, it's got a spoiler on the back, I suppose, outside I'm just looking at. But the interior, yeah, I mean, it's got a rev counter, a speedo, a gearbox, a couple of switches. That's it. And, they do, going back to the original point about the RS 2000s, they do drive quite nicely. But that is huge amount of money for a shopping Escort underneath, which is what it is, basically.
No, okay. And what's that up for as well? What are money?
35,000.
Yes, that's a lot. I mean, that's Austin Healey money, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Or it's Jaguar E-Type money now.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
which would you rather have? I think it comes back to this thing, and this is going to probably be the the summary of this is that if you grew up with Fords, if you grew up lusting after these things, if these were on your bedroom walls and you revered them, then 35 grand you'll scrimp and save to get it, because that's the car you want. To us, to you and I, BL and Citroen kids, then this really doesn't have that emotional connection, does it?
Don't give away the ending before we've got there. This is like somebody coming up and telling you what's happening in a film while you're just watching it. Oh, don't get attached to that character.
Well, you get killed by the end of it. I don't want to reveal it. Just because you're too boring.
Or just go fast asleep, fall asleep.
Too boring. Right, let's have a look at another one. Have you got one? What about a Cortina or something?
Well, this is the problem, you see. The problem with these high-end prices for this stuff is it drags up the prices of the really boring stuff. Yeah. So here's Exhibit A. A boring 1980 Mark V Cortina 1.6 GL. Now, this is so dull, you'd barely see it if it drove past you. Now, this, if you put this, I'll put this on your screen now, hang on.
Oh, yeah.
Blue Cortina Mark V, four-door, 1.6. It's about as boring as it can get, isn't it? These were boring in the day, and they're boring now as classics. It's a GL, so it might have a little bit of extra walnut in it and a little bit of extra spec. But because the Ford prices are so high, this is being dragged up. So I don't know whether you can see the price yet, but I'm going to tell you it is 13,991. So pretty much 14 grand for a Mark V Cortina.
Yeah, and these were, for kids like us, 70s kids like us, in the 80s, these were the cars that we grew up. They were on every street corner, weren't they? These Cortina Mark Vs, and every other mate's dad had one. I found being inside Ford interesting, but not for very long.
You can't have found that one interesting. I'm just looking at it. I mean, again, it's just bland Ford bland, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's nothing in there of any interest.
No, I can't. Would I pop the garage door up and get excited about this? No, not really. I mean, let's be fair, because I think it sounds like we've been a bit snobby about this. I mean, if you had this in your garage, it's going to be much more interesting than, a modern classic. For me, it would be. I'd be much more interested in going around in this and driving around, but I don't think I'd be that excited.
1.6 GL Mark V Cortina. I wouldn't get excited about that. Yeah, it's a GL. Okay, yeah. It's got the Rose style wheels, I think. So that's a slight hint.
What did you get in the GL? Did you get like tape cassette player or something? You must have got something. It's wind up windows, isn't it? Oh, has it got electric windows? No, it's not got.
I don't think so.
No, wind up. No, it's wind up windows.
You got the slightly bigger wheels. You got the passenger door mirror. Headrests, and you got a radio, I think, but that was about it, wasn't it?
It was those days where they listed passenger door mirror and body styling something or other as like an extra.
Wheels, steering wheel,
wheels,
extra.
Yeah. They're just all the styling cues. It just doesn't spark anything in me. I don't get excited about that. And as you say, this is 14 grand. Again, contextualize this. For the money, you could be sitting in an MGB or a Triumph Stag or something a bit more interesting than this, or a nice old Mercedes or something like that. For that money, that 10 to 20 grand, there's a lot of competition in that.
Easily, you're in a 123 230 E, aren't you?
Or a 70s one. Yeah, or a 70s one. Just something with a bit of soul to it. I mean, I can't imagine that, you're thinking, wow, all I want in my life is a, Cortina. Was it a 1.6 GL? Oh, no, but if that was, it's priced, isn't it? If that was 4 grand, I wouldn't have a problem with it, because
you could have a bit of a laugh in that. But 14,000, and I think this is the core problem for me with the Fords. Is this Cortina? This is not really, it's a classic car because it's old, but I don't think people aspire to it, because I'm not sure people aspired to these in the period, did they? And certainly, I don't think you aspire now to owning a blue Cortina 1.6 GL.
Well, I was going to say, if it was 4 grand, then that's a good gateway car to get into classic cars, isn't it? You could run around and enjoy that. You could get a taste for it, see if it's for you, and then you could get an appetite to get something a bit more off the beaten track. But when it's 14,000, you've got to argue that actually there's better stuff around. Have we got anything else that we can look at?
Let's have a look at the Capri. Now, everybody loves a Capri. This is the same year as that Cortina, actually, a 1980 Capri 3-litre S. So this was the very top of the tree of Capris. And this is quite nice. For those people roughly our age, if you think of the professionals, Doyle drove that RS2000 we talked about, and then Bodie drove this Capri 3-litre S. So they are quite nice. And I don't mind Capris, to be honest. I think early Capris, Mark 1s and Mark 2s, and these early kind of Mark 3s are okay, but they hung around too long, these Capris. They made them for too long. So 3-litre S, silver, sunroof, engine's nice. Wheels on a Capri always look a bit small, but here's the kicker.
Mm.
£38,000.
What?
£38,000.
Wow.
A 1980 silver Capri.
It's clean underneath. It is a nice car, and it does.
Well, it should be. It's 38
Well,
grand.
yeah,
Get your
should be.
toothbrush out for that.
Yeah, exactly. It is a nice one. It is tricked out. It does look sporty, but again, it's just that looking at it, I don't get the chills. I don't want to jump inside it and drive it because it's just that Ford thing. I think it is because it was so everyman. Although the Capri was the pin-up car.
I mean, the
wasn't
Capri
it?
was quite posh, but the problem with the Capri is by the 1980s, certainly by 1980 and later, I think the Capri carried on to 1986. These kind of sports cars have been overtaken by hot hatches, GTIs, Peugeot 205s, Golf GTIs, that kind of stuff. That was hot. If you were still driving a Capri in the 1980s, to be honest, you were a bit of a knob because it was just an old car. It was a kind of an old car harking back to the 60s and 70s. People weren't into those kind of sports cars. They found the hot hatches were sexier. So the older Capris, I mean, it just should have been put out to pasture a lot earlier. It overstayed its welcome. And this 1981 is nice, but I reckon that's probably the last year I'd have a Capri. After that, it was just a bit naff.
The only Capri I kind of gets me excited is the Mark 1 because I just think it just looks so retro. But I wouldn't,
Well, see, that's exactly the point, because the Mark 1 was actually a groundbreaking design, wasn't it? It was an interesting design. By the time you got to this kind of like Mark 3, it was boring. And like a lot of Fords in the 1980s, they were just dull. The Cortina Mark 3, the Coke bottle Cortina, was a nice looking car. You get to that Mark 5 we talked about, boring. And so lots of this is a problem with Ford, is that their cars just got more boring and more boring and more boring. And then you got to the Sierra, you got to the Mondeo, you got to even to the Focus. Some of them drove quite nicely, but very boring, plain, vanilla, meh designs.
Well, it might come as a surprise to anybody listening to this, but, what do we know? Because probably chances are here we're probably talking nonsense because there is a market for Fords. They go like hotcakes in terms of sales. They are, it's fair to say that an 80s or 70s Ford creates much more excitement these days than a 60s car because there's a market for it. I mean, they are still pin-up cars for a lot of people. You look at the NEC, we recently at NEC, that, there's loads of them about, aren't there? There was loads of cars. And we posted that shot of the Arthur Daly stand, and, there was Fords on there, and people were still asking about that Cortina, the brown Cortina on there. So I just think we're not the market for it.
I mean, I'm going to give you some quick-fire choices here because I have had Fords in my past. I've had a Mark III Coke bottle Cortina years and years ago.
Right.
I had a Mark IV Zodiac, which you've got to be quite a Ford nut to know what that looks like, but it's a big kind of
it looks like
American-looking car. Yeah, exactly. And then I had a Mark III Granada Estate for a while when I first moved to London.
Oh, did you?
But yeah, and it was, it was a bit vanilla. I remember getting in that and you could engage reverse and get out, walk around the car and then get back in the car by the time reverse actually engaged because it was so knackered. Anyway, here's some quick fire choices about Fords versus others and see which you would prefer. So here we are. Capri versus MGB GT.
MGB GT, I think.
Sierra versus a Cavalier.
That's not much of a choice. I'll go Cavalier.
Okay, Granada versus, say, a Rover SD1.
Thought you were going to say P6 then.
I did, but I crossed it out because I knew you'd have. I knew you wouldn't have the P6.
Actually, ask me the question.
Granada versus the Rover P6 or SD1.
Rover P6. Because
really,
I don't like them. We've crushed them on a previous episode, but it's more interesting.
True. Escort versus the Golf.
When people talk about Golfs, I generally glaze over because.
Okay, I'll upgrade it. XR3 versus GTI.
XR3.
Oh, okay. Fiesta versus a Mini.
Mini. What about you? If I read that list to you, Capri, MGB.
MGB.
Sierra, Cavalier.
Boss.
Now it's time for Crush or Caress.
And this time around, it's the Mini rival with the engine out back, the Hillman Imp.
These are the 8 great imps, with a super-modern aluminium engine at the rear, with synchromesh on all 4 gears, with independent suspension on all 4 wheels. Maneuverable, manhandleable, comfortable. The windows roll down. The rear seat folds down. The rear window lifts up. The 8 great imps from the exciting range of Roots cars, all part of the new deal from Roots. Test drive one at your local Roots dealer.
Now, I'd forgotten imps even existed, but in the 60s they were a genuine rival to the Mini, a small Scottish-made car to take on the world. Newsflash, it didn't. So should we round up all the survivors and recycle them into something more useful?
Whoa. Hold on a minute. Let's give you a bit of quick history. This was, of course, the Roots Group small economy car from 1963 to 1976. As we mentioned, the engine wasn't out front, it was out the back, and it used a reworked rally engine, I think, an aluminium engine block and a cylinder head, which had a bit of a reputation for overheating. Shock horror, British car, 60s, 70s. Now, the thing about it is it's one of these classic British car stories where where all the component parts have come together to sort of bust the plan, basically. It was made at the Linwood plant in Scotland. Now, do you know why it was built there, Max?
There was probably a government grant or something, wasn't it, to send it up there? Because Roots was based in the Midlands, wasn't it?
That's right. The Roots was based in Coventry. Now, here's problem number one. Roots was based in Coventry, but they wanted a government grant. The government said, you can have a grant, but you've got to build it somewhere where they need the work. So they picked near a shipbuilding plant in just north of Glasgow, in Linwood. So they had people building a car who'd never built cars before. They were all shipbuilders. So it kind of looked all right in paper, but the management were 300 miles away. So there's problem number one. So they started knocking these things out, and it sort of went okay to start with, but it was kind of born out of a necessity. It came after the Suez crisis and the need for small cars, but it was a rear-wheel drive car when front-wheel drive cars were just coming into fashion, and everything about it just didn't really work. It was basically gunning for the mini market, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's its main problem. It's its problem in the past and its problem now. The Mini was a much better small economy car, which is why they made 5 million Minis versus 500,000 Imps.
Now, I hadn't thought about these either until I saw one in the summer, and there was a couple of them, and you just think, well, they were a bit lumpy-dumpy. And then I remembered a mate of my dad's had one. We hadn't had one parked in a garage for a week or so, and I remember thinking it was a sort of kooky car then. But I looked at this one in the summer, and I just thought, well, I got chatting to the owner. It was a sort of young girl who she was about 20s, and the family were into Imps, and she just was really enthusiastic about it. She said, I use it as a daily car. It's really fun. And you look at it again, and you think it's not the prettiest thing. I don't think Roots cars were the prettiest things. They were quite well-made Roots cars, but they weren't generally stuff to kind of fall over and trip over yourself.
It did have that slight overheating problem, didn't it? It actually had an overheating problem that owners of cars made by Triumph, particularly the Stags, might actually recognise, isn't it? Because there was a aluminium head thing going on, and they would warp if the right coolant wasn't used.
Yeah, is it? Yeah, it was a usual story with the Imp that it was not a great design, and then it was the maintenance schedule wasn't kept to.
This is why you like it. You've got some kind of empathy with it.
I've got an affinity with it. But the good thing is, obviously, when it breaks down, your hands, it's going to be warm, isn't it? Especially in the winter when you push it, because that engine's in the back.
Yeah, exactly, because it's boiled over.
But it had a few compromises. Obviously, the engine in the back. You then, as a family car, you've got to load your stuff into a small kind of cubby in the front and stuff. So, but it was actually quite roomy. The question is, though, Max, what's it like to drive? I had a look around to see if I could find a review video on YouTube. And I found one. It's a good Classics World TV one. They take it out for a spin, and while they're driving it, they've got the Mini, its arch rival, very much in mind.
Immediately, it feels different to a Mini. Because you've got all the weight at the back, the front is lighter and dartier, and the steering feels fantastic. This car is so light on its feet, but unlike the Mini, it's got that swing from the rear effect that you get from old rear-wheel drive cars. It's remarkably light on its feet, this thing, and gives you so much confidence to chuck it around. The massive steering wheel in this car just isn't needed, frankly. And it's so flingable, there's hardly any body roll. The ride is a little bit bouncy, if I'm honest, but I'd still say it was more comfy than a Mini. I'd definitely be bounced out of my seat more if I was driving BMC's little car around here rather than Roots. Pulling it into a corner, it just sticks. And then there's that little engine. Put your foot down. It's a sweetie.
A sweetie, there you go, Max. And sour-faced old you wants to crush it. Why would you crush that? It sounds quite fun.
Well, it's because of the engine, and this is actually what happened to most Imps, is they were crushed because people took the engine out of the back and used them in racing cars. Because they were aluminium, they were very light and very effective. So the Imp was kind of a donor to a lot of racing cars around from the 70s, 80s. And that's why they weren't that popular, because, I mean, as a car, they were okay. The engine was quite good if it was looked after, but it was nothing special. And of course, like I said earlier, there was the Mini. And the Mini did drive better than the Imp. You know, the Mini is front engine, front wheel drive, and the Imp is rear engined, rear wheel drive. So it's just a basic balance, isn't it? It's like a VW Beetle. It's kind of a bit tail heavy, and that it doesn't give the best handling that you could get.
Yeah, but this is more of an oddity, isn't it? I mean, there weren't as many made as the Mini. The Mini was like something like 5.3 million of them made. The Hillman Imp, there was about 440,000 made between 63 and 76. And there's only 769 licensed still on the road, and another 630 odd in garages somewhere sawn. So you're already looking at something that's a bit rarer. As you say, you don't see them very often. Values are between like 5 and 7k. Even the top ones are only sort of 10 to 12. That's a lot of car. It's fun. It's a different choice to a Mini. You've got that kookiness. You've got the engine in the back. Yes, it might overheat. Yes, the water pump might blow up. It doesn't matter. That's all part of the fun of ownership, isn't it? But it's something different. If you pull up
Says a stag driver.
Well, that's right. Yeah, it's all right. I'll look after you. We can all be friends together. But Minis aren't perfect. They're not trouble free. No classic car is perfect.
No, they're not perfect, but they are a bit more chuckable into corners. And I think if you're going to put the two back to back, you'd probably always go for the Mini because it just feels more secure and it's just got a bit more fun in the corners. I don't mind the Imp. I like the various. They brought out lots of variants of it. There was the Estate, which is quite an ugly looking car, but odd in a kind of nice way. There was the van. And then there was that lovely, have you seen this? The Sunbeam Stiletto, basically a coupe version of the Imp with a stronger raked rear window, and it had twin headlights instead of single headlights. And I like that because it's different. They were trying to do something different with it. The Imp sales were pretty bad. And actually for a while, it was the cheapest new car you could buy in the UK because nobody was buying it, so they made it cheap. So it's like the British Larder, effectively. But they did make some quite nice special versions of it. And I kind of admire those because they're different. But the Imp itself, it's just not... nice engine. That engine came from... it was based on the Coventry Climax racing engine.
That's right, yeah.
So it was, it was actually quite a good engine. The rest of the car, just a little bit, meh.
But I think if we're looking at crush or caress, I would argue you crush a car because it's ugly and forgettable, or you don't like it, or really don't like it, or you caress it because it's something that'll keep going. And I think the Imp is a bit of an ugly duckling, but I think the rarity of it makes it interesting. It was part of the story of the 60s. It was the rival that didn't win the race. And as I say, there's only a few hundred of them left on the roads. I just looked on Car and Classic. There's only 4 for sale in the UK.
Yeah, I had a look earlier. There aren't that many, are there?
Isn't that more of an interesting choice to get?
I would be tempted to take the engine out and put it in something racing and go really fast in it and then crush the Imp body, because that's what lots of people did, because it was just a bit, disposable at that point. Now, that's okay when they were cheap and nobody wanted them. And I do see your point. They are a different classic now. But for me, it's just going to be beaten by a Mini Cooper every time.
I don't know. There's something about it that makes me want to keep it.
Well, you keep that and I'll have a Mini. I'll zoom around in my trendy 60s Mini Cooper and you can drive around in that looking a bit like Dame Edna.
So episode 45 of The Tyre Kicker still to come. We'll talk interiors and whether they are the most important bit of the car or not. But first, let's talk about our cars. I got my Stag out up and running about. I'm still using it in the autumn, actually, much, much more than I did with the last car, which is good. I'm sort of running it out, Max, on the sort of sunny autumn days when there's sort of the sun is shining, it's not being too cold. I actually used it to the work commute the other day. I thought,
did you?
Normally with classic cars, I just don't involve them in anything where I've got to be anywhere. But I had quite a sort of relaxed day. There wasn't a mad panic. If I was 20 minutes later, it didn't really matter. So I thought, well, I'll take the car. And do you know what? It worked seamlessly. I did some errands in it. I went to the shops. I went to work. I dropped a couple of bits off. And it was fine, absolutely fine. The only problem with an old car is you just remember locking all the doors is a pain, isn't it? And then if you've got one lock that doesn't quite work, we are spoilt these days with our daily cars, aren't we? I mean, I just touch mine, and when I walk away from it, it locks. But when you're in an old car, you're sort of locking everything and unlocking everything and mucking about with it. But that's really good. The only thing is, it's got cold the last few days, and the gritters have been out. So I've had a shield. I've had a garage door shielding my car from the grit, because if that Stag even sniffs some grit, it's
salt and moisture.
It's just gonna like dissolve, isn't it?
Well, they did, didn't they? Remember the 70s, when Stags were new, people drove them around in the winter as their only car, and they were, next summer, they were kind of rotten, weren't they? It was too late.
I mean, what else have we been up to? Oh, we went to the NEC. You drove your car to the NEC, which I was quite
did. I took the Merc to the NEC because I thought it's a classic car show. I'm going to drive my classic car there. And the good thing about the Merc is it is that kind of reliable car that you should be able to get there okay. Fine, got there okay. There's a bit of traffic around on that junction, wasn't there? That basically, if you want to get into the Birmingham Airport or the NEC, there's one lane because of HS2 roadworks. But the Merc handled itself pretty well. It didn't overheat or anything. I think the only problem I had is the speakers that I wired in halfway through down the motorway just started crackling and broke up. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because I did it. So that's the problem. But actually, the car itself is brilliant. You know, it does that daily commute thing well. And I was in the car park of the NEC, and I have to say, I was a little bit disappointed by how many people turned up in modern cars. Because it's the chance to bring a classic. It was nice weather, and it was just row after row after row of modern stuff. You know, I really did enjoy going there in a classic car because you're kind of in the mood and you're around like-minded people. But I just would like to see other like-minded people driving their cars there.
Yeah, I wonder if they could do something. Because I wonder whether they could do some sort of parking area where you could walk through to get to the show, where people, if they had classic cars, would be allowed to park there. So
closer to the show, so you don't have to do the 20-minute walk. How about that?
Yeah, well, exactly that. Yeah, or get on one of those buses up, nose to nose to somebody. I think that'd be nice. The only problem with the NEC is they've got loads of other. If you've been to that show or any other shows, there's always another 5 or 6 shows on, and I nearly did a wrong turn and got caught in Disney on Ice, which would have been not my thing. In fact, I got on the bus and there was a lot of people screaming and singing Disney songs and stuff. And
do you remember one show we went to? There was a Comic Con on, wasn't there? There was lots of people dressed up in Star Wars outfits and stuff when we were trying to go to a classic car show.
Well, that's right. Yeah, it was a bit embarrassing because I'd come in the Star Trek stuff. I got the wrong memo. But yeah, there's always stuff on. But that'd be a good idea for the show if there was some sort of VIP parking. So if you paid your parking, but if you came in a classic, you got to park right outside, because I think people would like looking at those cars as well, wouldn't they? But no, I know what you mean. But do I want to drag my car up for like an hour and a half to the NEC to park it in South Car Park number 6, that's half a mile away from the thing? I mean, hats off to you. And your car, actually, most classic cars are rubbish in the dark, but your headlights on yours are brilliant, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, because we met up afterwards. We went to a pub in the Cotswolds, in the North Cotswolds afterwards.
Tell everybody. Tell everybody we're drinking on the job.
But we met up afterwards for a meal, and by the time I left, because you stayed in the pub, by the time I left, it was about 10 o'clock, and the headlights are great. And actually, I had a fantastic drive just south of Banbury through Chipping Norton and Burford. It's a really good road. The headlights were good, no other traffic around, and I really got to feel that car in its best, because it's not a sports car in any sense, the Merc SL, but it is a beautiful cruiser. And I think that night we just clicked in a way that you do sometimes with your cars, and it was just perfect for that kind of place. Unusually for a classic car, the headlights are good enough to use at night, and actually it was just a fantastic drive. The only time I saw another car, I was overtaken by an Audi RS3 that must have been doing about 120 miles an hour. And on that road, it's a great road. I was kind of overtaken by myself 20 years ago because it's a fantastic driving road. But I was just cruising along in the Merc and having a great time. And it's one of those times you really get to bond with your car. I got to understand it and really, really like it.
So you had good headlights, you were warm, but you just couldn't get your debarge on the car stereo. Lighthouse family or whatever it is you've got going on, because your speakers don't work. So you need a bit of help with that, do you?
Yeah, basically I had to sing my own Duran Duran.
Well, we had a good time at the NEC. Actually, we were saying we should go for longer next time, because we had great fun doing the show, which we put out. If you've not had a chance to listen to that, scroll back. It's a couple of episodes ago. But we were sort of said we ran around so much looking at good stuff that we didn't actually take the time to look at stuff, if that makes sense, did it? I don't feel I got to see very much.
Well, it's big, isn't it? It's very big. There's lots of people there, and we were, laughably trying to do some work. So I felt the same. I felt there was parts of the show I just never got to. It's almost like a 2-day thing, actually, that show, isn't it? I'd like to go on day one and then come back for the second day, because there's things I'd like to see again, and also places I'd like to go, because we hung around the auction to make that kind of auction special. We were there for sort of 2 or 3 hours. So we only had really 2 or 3 hours around the rest of the show. And that's not really enough.
We met Sam from Old Car Lady. She was there and we spoke to her. There's a clip on her channel as well on Instagram. You can go and have a look. We had a good laugh with her. And we also met one of you guys as well, DT McMurtry. You came up and said hello after we were recording that bit in the podcast cafe. Really nice to meet you. And it'd be nice if you see us about, come and say hello, because it's always nice to catch up with you. And see you in the flesh, as well as hear from you on the comments as well. And we spoke to Danny from Practical Classics as well, didn't we? Did you pick up any tips from that, Max?
Well, he was quite keen to get us to do some manual labour on our
work.
cars.
Yeah.
And I've already told you what happened with my speakers. They started shorting on the M42. So
Yeah.
I did ask him actually, what car would you buy in order to start doing the spannering? And he was talking about a Series 2 Land Rover actually, which is quite a good idea.
But on subject of fixing stuff, some of you have been in touch. Dempsey 8617, we were asking the question, should you leave it to the pros? And he said, yeah, it's best to do that because I can pull things apart, but I can rarely fix anything. We've all been there.
I know that feeling. Gentle's Garage says, I did most of the work myself on his 5 Series BMW, but engine, loom, wiring and welding, I get a pro to do it.
Yeah, I think this is true. And 350 Munro picks up on this sort of feeling that you should stick to what you're good at. He says, apart from trimming or fitting tyres, I do everything else, which is great. So, but you've got to know your limitation. I think Danny said he didn't like doing trimming.
Right, let's hear from you about what else you've been doing. We put a quick film up on our Instagram, The Tyre Kickers UK, from the Arthur Daly style used car lot at the NEC. Josh Swin 95 said nothing sold because it was the right people at the right time, but the wrong situation. Now that's the Mind Your Thing tune, isn't it? But isn't that right people, right time, but wrong location, not situation?
Yeah, that's how it goes. I love the fact that you said film. It's like a reel. Get with it, Grandad.
Yeah, sorry. No, I'm not really into that.
DT McMurtry, we mentioned earlier, said it was his first time at the NEC show, but he struggled with the amount of perfect cars on display. He said there are only so many Escorts on mirrored glass floors with polished track rod ends that a man can take. There was quite a few of those cars, weren't there? Like the pristine eat your dinner off cars, weren't there?
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing, that's what I'm kind of hinting at, is that the people who drove their cars there maybe should have a special section where it's not polished and it's not on a mirrored glass floor. It's just turned up and used all the time. Because some of those show cars, they're very impressive to look at, but clearly they're not driven.
But it is a show, isn't it? If you took your Merc to a show and it was on the Merc Club stand, would you wash it?
I probably not, to be honest, because
Yes,
I like
you
cars that are
would.
used.
Yes, you would. You'd pay someone about 400 quid to go through around it with a
Well, it's a bit
toothbrush.
cold to wash a car at the moment, isn't it? And that's my excuse.
I suppose that's
no, but I wouldn't. I like cars with a history, and I like cars that are used. I find nothing better than seeing a car streaked with dirt because you know it's been used properly.
Oh, you want to come and look at my Stag in the garage then? But you wouldn't. But you say that. But if you went around the stand and your car was filthy, or the car you were looking at was filthy, you just think, well, they've not made an effort.
No,
So
but
I
if
think-
it's a show stand to show off a car, yeah, I get it. But I think there should be another section where you should just drive there and show your car as is. Show and go, because it's showing it how you use it. That's part of the fun.
Yeah, true. Well, I guess that's more like Rustival or somewhere like that. But we've got the restoration show coming up in the new year. That's probably a bit more gritty if you want a bit of grit. Talking about sort of shows and things, I think one of the good things that's happened this year is that I've noticed it locally. I don't know about you, but there's been a lot more meets happening, a lot more shows happening. And obviously that's always been quite a regional thing, but they're starting to happen in cities as well now, aren't they?
Yeah, because I went to the SW1 Social car meet a few Sundays ago. I put a snap on Instagram of various cars, including just a classic Mini that was there that was nice. And then on our Instagram, Harry Hewitt 48 said the Mini was his favourite car because it's his. Nice Mini, Harry. I like that.
Explain that. Obviously, you and I know what SW1 is because we lived in London, but this is in London. You're talking in central London, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's just off Sloane Square. I mean, to be honest, it's so posh. I'll be amazed if they're allowed to have that for much longer. Somebody's going to step in and stop that. But yeah, for the time being, the SW1 Social is really nice. And actually, there were some great cars turning up in London. Of course, because it's ULEZ free. It's outside the congestion zone. So you can drive in your old car. And it was really good. It's a great meet. And there was some coffee there and stuff. So I put a few photos on that because there were some really interesting cars there.
Yeah, that's really good actually to hear because, we over the past few years, all we've heard is sort of negative stuff about London being anti-cars and, sort of all this stuff against cars. It's nice that actually people who enjoy cars are getting together, in the middle of a capital city and meeting up. So hopefully that'll continue. Hopefully the blossoming of these meets that I've been noticing that this year will continue into next year. I'm looking forward to it. I went to a car meet in the cold though recently. And I mean, as I say, I've been using the Stag a bit more. Normally with the Sunbeam, I would have put it away and maybe just run it out once a month. But the Stag's more usable because it's got power steering, it's automatic. It's just easier to kind of live with a little bit. I've been using it more. And I went to a car meet and it was grey. And I wouldn't normally, I've said to you in the past, my rule with car meets, look out the window. Is it sunny? Yes, I might go. Is it cloudy? No thanks, stay in bed. If it's sunny, I don't mind. But I thought, you know what, this time I will go. And it was over near Reading Way. And it was grey. And, the autumn set in. And when it's cold and everybody's got their coat on and all the good cars stay away, it's just a bit boring.
The problem is it's the cars, isn't it? Because I don't mind in the cold. If it's cold, who cares if you've got some good cars to look at? But it's the things that the expensive stuff tends to stay tucked up during the winter. So I know what you mean. Some of the meets I go to are kind of like petering out. Because people just aren't doing it, particularly if it's raining. You see a bit of rain in the morning, you think you're going to see 50% less cars there.
I enjoyed the drive out and actually the drive back more than actually the meet itself. So, I mean, maybe that's the excuse to go. You were trying to get me into a Jag XJS. One came past me in the street the other day. I've got to say, it didn't turn my head. So maybe it's the wrong car.
Well, every time I look at XJSs, I see old men driving them. So I think it's perfect. It's got you down to a T.
Now, we talked car specs in the previous episode as well, and Jago Brett said that turning up in a company car park in an XR2 versus a Golf GTI was a shocker, and you had to do the walk of shame. I thought an XR2 would give you a bit of cachet, wouldn't it, in the company car park?
It's that whole thing. It's up against the Golf GTI, though, and the GTI, again, were the cooler cars of the two, I think, versus the XR2. I would like to hear more comments from you, actually. If you'd like to keep the comments coming, here are the ways you can get in touch.
You can find us at The Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and The Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
So I may have mentioned that I'm looking for a Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow. Now, I've been looking at bodywork and engines and braking systems, and in most cases, lots and lots of filler and leaking oil. But I've never really paid much attention to the dashboard. And that's a pity because I've noticed it and it's absolutely beautiful. Probably one of the nicest parts of a Shadow.
And probably the first thing I noticed. I mean, I've always had a thing for interiors because I think, unlike you, while everyone else is staring at your stunning exterior, you, the driver, are looking at the dash for 99% of the time. And that's where you form your opinion and your bond with the car. I mean, that last car I had that I mentioned, the Sunbeam Alpine, it came to me with a great exterior. It'd all been redone, great chrome outside, and a sort of tired interior. So my priority was to sort that out. And the pleasure I got from doing it, well, not from doing it, but the pleasure I got from having done it, and seeing a really nice revinyl black dashboard with clean chrome dials, with repainted, I even repainted the actual needles, new carpets, new bits of trim. Just the pleasure I got from driving that and looking at that when I drove it was enough for me. That was a big part of the car. And I'm a little bit OCD about interiors. I think if they're not quite right,
a little bit. Let's correct that. Very OCD.
Well, this is since having the Stag, it's just interior. It's not great anyway, and mine is a little bit tired. I've noticed, around the edges, it's starting to sort of crack and chip, and the wood's a bit faded, and the switches need replacing. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to bite the bullet. I mentioned earlier, I've got the kit. I've got new dial cleanup kit, chrome bezels on the dials, period style.
I mean, yeah, all very good. But you have a car interior fetish, don't you? You have a car interior fetish, and everybody knows about it. Because you go on and on about it all the time, which makes me ask, why didn't you buy a car originally with a nice interior? Because that Stag is like a 70s MFI furniture catalogue. Why didn't you get something with a great interior?
Well, I know. I've bought it despite the interior. I've never liked Stag interiors. I still don't like them. It does look like MFI.
Why did you buy it?
Well, because I wanted the engine. I wanted to own that engine, which is unusual. Normally it's the other way around. I'm not that bothered about the engine. I'm more about the style of the car. But I wanted to get that engine out of my system, and it is great, and it sounds great. You don't really need a stereo. It's a perfect car for you, really.
I'll come and fix yours then if you want.
Yeah, exactly. But the engine sounds great, but I want to improve that interior because I think the interior is such an important part of the car. So should we look at some interiors? I mean, I think we're coming at it sort of both at different angles. But for me, when I open that door, I want to see something that kind of joins up. The problem I have with interiors is when I open the door and I just see stuff that leaps out at me that's not
okay.
Quite right.
I mean, which kind of interior do you like? Would you like, say, a minimalist interior? So if you have a look at your screen now, I'm going to put a picture up of a Fiat 500. So a Fiat 500 is basically just a slab of metal with two switches and a steering wheel and a speedo. Do you like that kind of minimalism, that kind of pure design where there's nothing to distract the driver?
I think this is really clean. So it's a design thing for me. So I think we're looking at, this has got a metal dashboard. It's not a lot on it, as you say. There's like a single dial, an ashtray, and about 3 switches. But I think that's quite cool because it's symmetrical-ish. It's clean, it's not cluttered, and it's quite utilitarian. So I like that.
Well, I like that as well, but I'm surprised you do, because I'm feeling you want a bit more bling from your car interior.
Well, not
And most kind of
necessarily.
car interiors, if you want bling, you've got to be expensive. How about a Jaguar E-Type interior? Because that is a beautiful interior. Not particularly, well, not just because of the dash, but because you sit underneath it almost. You're kind of tucked into there, almost looking up at the dash. And those Jag E-Types, they're just beautiful cars inside.
Yeah, I like the Jag E-Type interior, but the one we're looking at here is perfectly done, isn't it? It's either been it has been restored. There's nothing worse than opening something like a Jag E-Type and seeing knackered seats and peeling dashboards. And
I don't mind that, because I think it's got a bit of the patina kind of argument. It just looks used and looks well used and loved.
No, I've got switches in the Stag that have kind of just gone all kind of crusty looking, and it really bugs me. So they're going. The Jag it's not a great design because it's very cluttered design, isn't it? If you've sat in a Jag E-Type, it is a bit sort of like flying.
You do get used to it though. I mean, yeah, all the switches look the same, but you do kind of get the idea. And it's a 60s period look, isn't it? People weren't worried about ergonomics then. They just were worried about switches and cigar lighters.
Yeah, I like it. I really, really like it. I also like the pagodas. I mean, if you think about the Mercedes Pagoda, I mean, they look good. But again, they can look really tatty as well. And I think, if I got a cheap Pagoda with a bad interior, that would be the first thing that bugged me, even more than the bodywork.
And also, Pagoda interiors are so expensive. Those switches for the heater are just so rare, and they cost thousands, don't they? But it's a kind of minimalist design, isn't it? And also that sort of 60s Mercedes design was beautiful. That dashboard had everything you needed and nothing superfluous. It was such a good design.
So if we're talking about good stuff here, let's talk about not so great stuff. Alphas, not brilliant interiors. They're generally
Alpha Spider's got Duetto's got a nice interior, because again that's metal. But then the later Alpha Spiders were a bit.
What later, just 80s Alphas.
Well, I mean, to be honest, 80s everything. 80s cars were pretty awful to look at. I mean, there's a picture here of a VW Golf GTI Mark 1 as an idea of a nice interior. Now, I think those interiors are pretty awful, to be honest, because it's just black and plastic and black and plastic.
Coming back to the Alpha, it reminded me that there's that saying, wasn't there? When you buy an Alpha, you buy the engine, they chuck the rest in for free, which is pretty much sums up the interiors. I mean, let's talk about bad interiors. I hate to say it, but Triumphs, TR6s, terrible interiors. Look really cheap, don't they?
And also, MGB interiors are quite nice. You do get that kind of sitting in there behind it kind of feeling. I don't mind those.
A lot of those cars were done on a budget, weren't they? They're 70s cars. And
but you can do them on a budget nicely, and you can do them on the budget with stalks from a Marina and a Sherpa, which is what you've got.
Yes, true. I mean, I saw one of the original designers of the Stag talking in a video, and he was kind of saying that, we had grand designs for the interior, but in the end, the accountant just said no. So we wanted to make the dials chrome. They said no. We wanted to do this. They said no. So everything was done on a bit of a budget, which is a bit of a shame. I mean, you can go the other way. I mean, I think there are Stags that I see where people just go over the top and bling them up, and it's just, leather trim dashboard in bright white cream. It's a bit too much. I think you can make it look tasteful. A beautifully restored MGB with the original style dashboard doesn't need to be bling. It just needs to be nice and clean. But there are cars where I open the door and just go, ugh. I mean, there are cars
you're a child of the Citroen, though, aren't you? You're a Citroen child. If you have a look at this page, you'll see the Citroen SM. Now, the Citroen SM had such a stylish dashboard, and that wasn't a classic car dashboard. That was futurist and modern. That was a cutting-edge dashboard. And those are still really beautiful, aren't they? Look at that.
I mean, that is wow. The first thing that catches my eye are those ribbed tan leather seats. I mean, like, whoa. And then you see the gear stick, which is in that sort of almost Ferrari-style gate, isn't it? It's and then you notice all the kooky bits. Like Citroens of the 70s had a stereo, but the stereo wasn't on the dashboard. It was between the seats, which is really odd.
Absolutely nowhere where you could reach it or see it. It was fantastic. It was a complete disregard for ergonomics.
I've got a thing about dials as well. I mean, this has got Velia dials in it. They had them in Ferraris as well, didn't they, those dials in the 70s? And when I got back into classic cars after being into boats for a while, I wanted a classic car with chrome dials and Smith's dials and things. There's something about them, isn't there? There's something about those sort of 60s, 70s separate mechanical gauges that makes you realise you're driving something clockwork in a way. And then once the clusters started coming in, it's a bit boring.
I'm going to show you the ultimate solution, which is if you look at this page up on your screen now, you'll see a picture of a Faisal Vega. And if you scroll down, you'll see a picture of the Faisal Vega interior, possibly one of the greatest looking car interiors of all time. Now, walnut, chrome, cream leather, it's got everything. Do you like that?
Wow. Look at that. And
It's
that's
got knobs,
beautiful.
it's got switches. It looks like an aircraft, doesn't it?
I just had to cross my legs at that one. It's just, oh my God. It's like, I was going to say it's like a gentleman's club, isn't it? But it's not. It looks like a walnut wardrobe
You're
with
at the controls of a kind of Art Deco airliner, aren't you?
Yeah.
It just looks absolutely fantastic. It's about as spot on as an interior can get.
yeah, that's what my stag's going to look like when I'm finished with it.
I've got news for you. It ain't.
Well, that's it for this episode. Next time,
It's the last show before Christmas, so what are the best Christmas presents for the classic car fan? Insert joke here about Santa's sack.
and if we're not feeling too bar humbug about Christmas, maybe we might do some other Christmas classic car related stuff.
Oh, do we have to? No party hats, please. That's next time. Until then, start Christmas shopping and goodbye.
I've not given you my list yet. Bye. Yeah, that'll do. Nice.
Great. Brilliant. I can feel the awards coming
And going.
from Viz magazine.
Yeah.